Hey, this is a C-130 cargo. It's an illustration that I'm doing for a narrative with my course on perception. Well, why do you have a C-130 up there? Well, for one thing, I'm making a lot of noise. Now, I can get so loud with some of these instruments that the dog next door will start barking. And when I start to fill in these canvas areas, what's left in the valleys of that canvas weave is what dictates where I go. I work in reverse. This airplane, I'm drawing the background first. Well, kind of like you do in painting. I'm blocking it in. Anyway, I used to work in the aerospace industry. And I worked at a place where they did a lot of ground systems, meaning like radar. And I used to draw block diagrams. I think they call them spreadsheets now if they're on a computer, but in the old days, they were just block diagrams. And for a few years there, that's all I did. I drew circles and squares and lines with really, really wet pens. And you think brushes are hard to maintain. These things were ridiculous. That's how you had to do it back then. I know I don't look that old, but it's a revolution. So I'm drawing blocks and circles and squares, and I'm doing cutting and pasting. One day, this guy comes up to me and he says he's a supervisor, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Francis, yeah, I want you to draw me an airplane." I said, "What?" Well, he knew I was a good artist. They used to throw some jobs at me like that once in a while because they couldn't do it. They were doing cutting and pasting. I was a real artist. They knew it, but they didn't need art that much. But one day he said he needed a drawing of an airplane. So I thought, oh my God, I looked at this job and I said, they're actually going to pay me for the next day or two to draw the scene with an airplane in it. He says, "You see this stuff coming out of the airplane?" I say, "Yeah." He says, "That's chaff." I said, "What's chaff?" He says, "Well, when they go in to certain areas, they fly these bombers in there and they blow out all this aluminum foil out the back. And that's to jam everybody's radar." That's appropriate for the kind of place I was working in, right? But it's a real drawing. I was so excited. I couldn't believe this. So anyway, this is a distraction. Now, I could draw a magician up on the stage with a couple of cute ladies, what did they call it? Posing. Same thing. I want to distract you before I make a delivery, to get you kind of confused. Sun Tzu talked about that, Taoism, the art of war. Well, it's not so much war. It's just common sense, but you have to be aware of it. So what I'm doing here is I'm drawing a C-130 blowing out a bunch of chaff. And what that means is simply this. We're so distracted with the information and the overall confusion of what's going on that we have to see through it to realize what's coming at us, not just all of this chaff. Uh-oh. Oh gosh, the garbage truck's coming. This is going to get really noisy. But anyway, that's my point with the chaff. Hey, you think it's getting noisy? It gets really noisy with these pencil drawings. This is part of getting undistracted, is seeing the rests and the spaces and all that. And that's where the delivery system is coming from. Not with all the confusion. Particle wave, E equals mc squared.